The following presentation is a gift from the team at Streamline Publishing, publishers of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and weekly newsletters Fine Art Today, Realism Today, Plein Air Today, and American Watercolor, and events, the Plein Air Convention and the Figurative Art Convention. We offer over 400 different art instruction tutorials and ultra high-quality video by the world's leading artists. If you like what you see, help us support our artists and our team with your purchase. Each video aired has a special discount code for today only in the comments section with a link to the video offered. And to see everything we do, or if you want to receive notice of new releases, new products, and new events for artists, simply click the other link, which says, "See everything we do." Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eric Rhodes of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazines, and we've been providing you with a lot of videos to keep you learning and growing. And today we have a new one for you that you've not seen. It's called Brushwork Secrets Revealed with the amazing Robin Cheers. I think you're going to love this.
Hi there, I'm Robin Cheers, a contemporary impressionist painter in Austin, Texas. I'm inspired very much by strong light and shadow, and I use that to help me create strong paintings and strive to keep my brushwork loose, and I want to share with you ideas about how you can do that too. Throughout this painting, we'll work on design and then our color, and then we'll start the full canvas and with a loose gestural sketch to begin, and then I'll work it through to the end, showing you how to keep your strokes loose and your color pure and bright. So let's get started, and we'll set up our tools and get the palette ready. First, I'll share with you my brushes. I sometimes will start by painting with a nice round brush here, like this one. This actually has kind of a nice length of brush. It's a hog hair bristle round, and I like the length of the fiber or the hairs here, and frequently that allows me to lay the brush on its side and get some nice big wide strokes. And for the bulk of the painting, I'll work with these also hog hair bristle filbert brushes. Various sizes. Of course, the brands often have different numbering, but this is an 8 and a 6, and a little bit smaller down to a 4. I also have a couple of smaller brushes if I want to get into some smaller details. This is also a filbert bristle, and this one is a round bristle hair. And on occasion, when I want to do a nice smooth stroke, this is like a mongoose or a sable type brush, and it's nice and helps lay the colors down a little bit flatter and smoother. For applying and removing paint sometimes, I may use my palette knives. There's just a couple small sizes that allow me to kind of scrape areas, and another couple of scraping tools. Actually, this was a credit card, like a free offer thing. I just kept it and I use it to scrape. This also is actually like a bowl scraper that I use, especially on bigger, broader areas, to scrape texture on or off. And of course I use Gamsol spirits, odorless mineral spirits, and sometimes I'll add this cold wax medium that builds up some texture and it lays real nicely over top of the surface. And I'll add some solvent-free gel as well that helps loosen the paint consistency and move it around a little easier. I usually use a titanium and zinc white mix. I think this is still a holdover from when I was doing a lot of plein air painting or paint from life. That white has a good body, but it also dries a little quicker. Next I have a Hansa or Windsor yellow. That's a nice bright yellow. And I use the Windsor yellow or hues of color, and I use the hues because I want to avoid the heavy metals. This is Indian yellow. Now this is kind of a transparent yellow, which is fun to play with and neat color. And to simplify, I'm going to just go ahead and add, this is permanent orange, or a cad orange hue, actually, on this one. So I'm putting out some as convenience colors too. And the Naphthol Scarlet. And again, that's my substitution for a cad red. And alizarin permanent. And permanent's important, of course, because alizarin can be a fugitive color, so it's good to have your paintings last. And a fugitive color means that it may, fade out after time. And now I've got a brand new tube here of ultramarine blue. Let me get that out. Also, another kind of convenience color I like is this manganese violet. It actually makes some really nice colors, and it also mixes with orange, believe it or not, to make a really nice flesh colors. And we've got some phthalo green. And I use that mostly to get my dark darks. And it's transparent, and I mix it frequently with the alizarin crimson to make a real nice transparent dark. And then finally I have a few of my sort of favorite little special treat colors. I'm just going to put them off to the side a little bit here. And this one is known as like a king's blue or royal blue. And it's just a gorgeous blue color. And this one is a meadow green. It's kind of probably like akin to the cad green colors. And finally, I'm going to add just a little bit of this nickel titanate yellow. So those are just some fun extras to play with as we work on our painting. So we've set up our palette now and have all our tools ready, and I'm pretty much ready to start painting, except not quite yet. While loose and expressive paintings may look like they haven't required a lot of work and aren't overly belabored, that's because there's been some thought that went into the process from the very start. And it's important to start with a real strong foundation, because if I have my design the way I want it and have composed it before I start painting, that's actually going to allow me to be a little bit more free and expressive, because I'm going to know where my big shapes are and I'm going to know how I want to fill them in. So here's our reference photo. And I'm going to just put up a scrap from my sketchbook here. Now this I've actually already composed in my photo editing software, so it's really kind of already there. But when you're working with photographs too, you want to consider, this could actually be a vertical. We want to think about how we want to design the painting. So I have already composed this, and a little bit more about photography too. Now this is a photograph actually that I just shot from the hip, essentially, in the Café du Monde. And I wasn't really thinking at that point about a composition or a painting. And if I were to just pick this up and start painting it, it's really kind of a scattered design. And I could, with some editing, make it work. So if I take this, actually, and I can start to play with different cropping of this image, and now, this guy kind of becomes the focus. We have these great arches here and the circle here leading us back in, and we might even have, over here, a little bit of cropping, and we can get this couple, maybe a nice square piece there, and this couple becomes the focal point. In this case, these both are at such opposite ends of the painting, it would be hard to keep people focused. So when you're taking photographs, you don't have to just pick up and paint the whole thing. So with our design now, we want to think about the big shapes, and that's crucial to how I work. I have to think in the sort of largest black and white value structure to start with. So with a Sharpie here, I'm just going to kind of plan or get an idea, basically just the no-tan sketch, and think about these shapes. Let's see, so all of this I can tell that's going to be my big dark paint part of the painting. My darkest dark really, but for now I'm going to kind of fill in everything that's in the dark or on the darker side of the value scale. I'm going to go ahead and push that into the dark value. So this is just going to help me remember my big shapes and think about, what to place in these big shapes. Now, the beauty of this too is that it allows me to really work with any color in here. I can, there we go. That's kind of it. This is actually, I would push that in the dark too. So once I have my overall sort of no-tan big shapes idea, and the shapes are interesting and they're connected, and this is going to make me think as I'm painting and working, and I can then put any color into these spaces so long as they are correct in the values. And that's part of the fun of being, an expressive painter too, is to really mix up color, play with both warms and cools within these big shapes. So now we have some design and composition decided, and now let's move into color. So the reference photo I'm going to use today actually had some pretty good color already, naturally, and I'm not going to play with it a whole lot. I love that there's kind of already a warm and cool or a pink and green color scheme happening here, and maybe even a triad with the blue jeans. But we don't always have to paint exactly what we see in the photograph. Another good way to express yourself through your painting and your work is to decide to leave the photograph reference. Once you've established the composition, you can play with different color keys. We can paint very darkly and keep all our values to the lower side of the value scale, or we can paint in the middle key, which is generally where most of our paintings are going to fall, where we have both a very dark and the light lights, with most of the work being done in the middle values. Or we can even push it to a higher key, where everything is kind of the middle value and up. And so those are fun ways to play with, making the painting our own. I did a painting from New York City called Morning on the East Side, and it was a totally made up color for me, really. I made it very misty morning. It's mostly all blues with a bit of, lavender and pinks playing there too. And that's kind of a lower key painting, although there's a lot of the whiter values in there. And I did another one that was sunset on Surfside that was completely different also from my reference photo. It was the woman was wearing a blue dress and holding her child, and I made it entirely not watercolor. It was not blue at all, a lot of pinks, oranges, and real sunny colors, and a much higher key. There's not very many darks at all in that piece. Okay, I think we are ready to actually start painting. We have a good strong design plan, and I have a color scheme in place, so let's get going. My gestural starts have become a good way for me to basically get out of my own way when I'm starting a painting. I start first doing my, a good planning, a good foundation, but then I have to kind of stop thinking too hard and just go ahead and allow myself to be free. And that way I get a lot more variety in the brushwork, in the texture. I can begin pretty thin, but pretty quickly start to block in and get a little thicker. For me, helped me to become a lot more expressive and to not rely so much on my source material and not be just rendering. I know I have the technical skills. I could draw very well, but I don't want to be stopped or stuck there and just rendering things. So by setting a little timer even, or just doing something covering the canvas as quickly as I can, then I get that nice expressive loose start. I start very loose and very juicy paint. And I'm going to use my photograph, actually kind of sight size it and put in a few markers just so I can kind of, have a good drawing or a good placement of shapes. Then we'll begin to get into blocking in color as quickly as I can, really. Let's see. So yeah, this angle's about here. I like this image too because it kind of has a lot of drama, very much a dark and light to play with. And again, I'm going to compare essentially shapes to one another and just use my brush a bit sometimes to see, where things might line up with one another, or measure, where the leg and the head, or the distance, the waist to the pretty quickly. Once I start, and get my lines roadmap essentially begun, I already go in ahead and start massing in a bit more. I want to get the angle of the hip here and the leg, kind of make sure that I capture that angle and that gesture. I like the wide sort of stance here. And so even at this point, I am not concerned with very accurate drawing. I'm not wanting to render and copy everything I see here exactly as it is. I want to keep loose, start the painting as I intend to go on, keeping it loose and fresh. So I'll lose a lot of that dark up there. And again, this is where this wide, round brush, I can lay it on its side here, and it covers a little bit more for me, more rapidly. So I'm going to start filling in the darks now, pretty and loosely, but also colorfully. I like my darks to be very transparent, and that way they're not such a heavy dark hole in the canvas, basically. I want them to have some color, and I'm going to go ahead and start grabbing some other color here too. Put a little warmth in those shadows. This here is the fun sort of these purpley orange that didn't really come through there though, with the alizarin crimson. It's kind of powerful right now. But that is okay. So I'm going to bring this on down here. And the scene, to me, is reading kind of warm. I've got warm greens. We've got the nice complementary colors as well. This pinks and paler yellows and yellow oranges are nice contrast with the cooler blue greens. Let's see. I do want to warm up my shadows good here. And it's just a matter of balancing how much I've picked up of each of these. Wow, that got strong. Fun part of this, though, is that all of this color can still be in there in the end. And I've got my foreground shadow, which I definitely want to warm up. I feel like the phthalo green there is a little too much blue, so I'm going to mix my own green so I can make it a lot warmer. And I'm still adding the mineral spirits. This is hard to judge, actually, a little. Nope. There we go, maybe. And the jeans here also are a little warm. I just want to start massing in. And again, this is just the big block in. I'm not worrying about edges too much or about, painting in the lines. I'm just kind of putting in my colors, keeping them mixed up a bit. And I leave the whites till the very end. So I just am going to get all of the darker values, the midtones, kind of all in at once, and work my way up. So these sheets back here are in the shade. but I still want them. Full color block in too allows me to go ahead and get those color notes in there, hopefully with a little bit of variety in the color as well. And I'm still just thinking about those big shapes. Go ahead and give a little bit of the flesh tones here to sort of get those markers in as well. And all of this is just to sort of hold the place. And I do a lot of scrubbing and hold my brush kind of way out at the end if I can. I'm using my whole arm. I don't want to get tight and clamped down on it and to get caught up in any details. I'm actually going to wipe back, I think, a little bit of the, this got way too red. This is the beauty of the paper towel though too. Yet another way to mix some paint and get it. There we go. Get that variety back there a little bit more. More warm green. There we go. All right, now we got some little variety back there. But you know what? I think I want to raise her up a bit. And this is the beauty, of course, of starting loosely. I'm not committed to anything at this point. I'm not afraid to begin again, and I want to bring her head up to about here. So. And this is why I like to start actually on a bright white board too, because it allows me to wipe off. And I like having some of the white of the canvas show through. So basically I'm just going to move her up a smidge. So she'll be a little bit bigger. So if this is her, there we go. She'll fill a bit more of the space now. There's the shoulder. There we go. I like that balance a bit more now. Bring the blue jeans up again as well. Again, still real thin, real loose, watery, essentially. I'm going to go ahead and let, these colors sort of blend together a bit. This is all just an underlayer. All right, now she fills more of that space. It feels a little more right to me. Because it's a quick start also and very loose, I'm not afraid to change things, and I don't feel real committed. So if when I step back there's something bothering me, or an angle's wrong, or I feel like, you know, the colors are bad, I can wipe it back, I can correct things there, and I'm not in love with it yet or feeling like it's precious. I think also my sheet will come down a bit more, but that's kind of want to put a little bit more motion into it to have the wind blow a bit behind there. Okay. Now I've just been focused at this point on the, you know, mixing the color to be the right values essentially. And on top of this then, I will build up and up and up more layers, more color, find the shape a little better. Hope I'm not blocking that too much. There we go. I'm going to warm this up even more in the front, these shadowy places. Find her arm in here. I can see that I've kind of lost that a bit. There we go. Okay. I apply my color using a lot of temperature and color shifts, you'd say, I guess. I'm in my values, as long as the value's right, you can put in any color, essentially. You know, hopefully it's a beautiful color. So on my palette, when I'm mixing my puddles of paint, it might start with just, you know, one or two, but I begin to modify that, and it grows, and it becomes warmer and cooler, and it all kind of continues to morph. And it even can, from there, move up in value. I might take this section that's a little cooler, but add some white and lighten that value. And the puddle that I build out of and continue adding and pushing this way and that with the color changes really creates a lot of harmony in the painting itself.
Here's to the artists who are looking to create paintings that are full of rich color and expressive texture. An invitation to the linear thinkers who dream of painting more loosely and express more emotion. A call to those who want to harness the feeling of excitement and inspiration from the initial concept to the final touches of a painting. To all of you, this is for you. It all starts with Brushwork Secrets Unleashed, an art instruction video with contemporary impressionist Robin Shears. A few minutes with Robin and you'll be hooked. You'll want what she has, the ability to create strong design and color plan, and then bang, make a quick start. No pondering, no obsessing over what to do first, just paint. This philosophy and technique is what allows Robin to keep her inspiration rolling. Not to get distracted by details, to just do the next right thing until she makes that delightful final brushstroke, steps back, and feels confident that this painting is exactly what she wanted to say. No compromise. You'll be painting more intuitively, from your gut and from your heart. This is what will help transform your art into something that grabs the attention of others. People will suddenly notice what you have to say through your paintings. Robin Shears has a gift of capturing complexities and the beauty of ordinary modern life. Her use of open brushwork and layered texture serves to deepen the interest and to allow the viewer to see further into the story contained in the painting. Brushwork Secrets Unleashed with Robin Shears is available on DVD or digitally to view on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Order yours today and start painting with a whole new sense of vigor and vitality.
That is Robin Shears, Brushwork Secrets Revealed. And you can learn more about it at lilyartvideo.com. And of course, we have a discount for you today only in the comments. Look there to get your discount. Meanwhile, let's get to know Robin.
Variety in the painting is the key to holding viewers' attention. My paintings are very personal to me. They really represent my daily activities, essentially. They're kind of a visual diary, I say, of my life. I don't paint scenes that I haven't had a personal experience with. And they tend to be homey because I don't travel a lot right now, and my family is kind of the bigger part of my life right now. So, I document our travels to the beach, and, we frequently do something during Thanksgiving break or spring break, and so I might be painting scenes of Dude Ranch. So these are all really kind of just stories in paint of where I've been and what I've done and what I like and how I spend my time. My paintings are very autobiographical. My techniques, I have found, really help me to tackle any subject. For a while, I would go through a period of being able to paint a certain way or a certain subject, but, really still find I'd struggle with, other scenes, say a busy city street or something. But when I began to really start focusing on these big shapes, I found that I could get rid of all that clutter and all the distraction and all those details, and maybe even a background that's not particularly pretty, or like I say, I was in a cafe and had a chance to paint or photograph somebody reading the newspaper, but there's somebody standing behind them or something awkward. But when I began to just think about these sections as big shapes of big puzzle pieces, that helped me to solve a lot of those problems. And I could just think about the color and the temperature, the value that goes into that shape, and modulate it and modify it so that I could make it really be anything in the background. So the big shapes help me just capture the impression of the subject too. I don't always paint from photos. Some of these photos I work from are actually referenced from models I've hired. I do have come to my house sometimes, or I've hosted models in actually a coffee shop. A friend of ours allowed us to use his space so I could have a model set up in a pretty natural environment, which I really like. So I do paint from life still. I sometimes go out and paint the landscape as well. And I carry a sketchbook with me in the car, and often am drawing or sketching from life too. And I think that's real important because I think you want to keep your hand busy and your eye trained. And the more you do that kind of sketching and drawing from life, you can increase the speed and accuracy with which you can capture your scene. I love oil paint because it's really has so much variety. You can work with it very thinned down, almost to like a watercolor consistency, and even allow drips. You can wipe it back out also if you have something you don't like, or you want to get back to a whiter part of the canvas. And I love you can just build up thicker and thicker impasto strokes and texture. It really is so varied. My painting style is impressionistic, I think. I'm getting more expressive, though, and I'm allowing myself to be a bit more gestural, and I'm trying to, leave a lot of the, I guess what you'd say, that I want to leave the mark of the artist in there, too. So I leave my personal imprint in my painting. I hope my students learn from this video how to begin with a quick notan, the idea of capturing the big shapes and just thinking about those at first. And then within those big shapes, when you have your values down, you can begin to adjust within those shapes and refine as much or as little as you want and add as much color as you want. As long as you hold that value pattern, I think that's the most important key. And then the other thing I'd like people to understand or play with and begin to experiment more with is their color choices. Again, as long as your values are correct, you can put any color in. And if you're using a photo reference or painting from life, you might feel constrained by the image or your subject to use certain colors, but if it helps, you could print your photo in black and white, and from there just use it as a springboard to experiment and play with different color harmonies or with different keys. You can go real dark with all your values and make it more of a nocturne, or you can go very, very, very light, like the Impressionists often did, had very high key paintings. This has been a journey for me to learn myself and to allow myself to experiment or to free myself up a bit to express myself, to trust that I'm doing the right thing. I think I always sort of think there's a right answer, and there isn't in art. There's a right answer for me. And I have to trust myself to know what that is and to put it out there. And I hope that I can encourage others to do the same and express themselves and not be too judgmental.
Well, that's Robin Shears, and the video is called Brushwork Secrets Revealed. And you can learn more about it at lilyartvideo.com. Streamline.com. Remember, we have a today-only discount, which you'll see if you look in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm Eric Rhodes.
Here's to the artists who are looking to create paintings that are full of rich color and expressive texture. An invitation to the linear thinkers who dream of painting more loosely and express more emotion. A call to those who want to harness the feeling of excitement and inspiration from the initial concept to the final touches of a painting. To all of you, this is for you. It all starts with Brushwork Secrets Unleashed, an art instruction video with contemporary impressionist Robin Shears. A few minutes with Robin and you'll be hooked. You'll want what she has, the ability to create strong design and color plan, and then bang, make a quick start. No pondering, no obsessing over what to do first. Just paint. This philosophy and technique is what allows Robin to keep her inspiration rolling. Not to get distracted by details, to just do the next right thing until she makes that delightful final brushstroke, steps back, and feels confident that this painting is exactly what she wanted to say. No compromise. You'll be painting more intuitively, from your gut and from your heart. This is what will help transform your art into something that grabs the attention of others. People will suddenly notice what you have to say through your paintings. Robin Shears has a gift of capturing complexities and the beauty of ordinary modern life. Her use of open brushwork and layered texture serves to deepen the interest and to allow the viewer to see further into the story contained in the painting. Brushwork Secrets Unleashed with Robin Shears is available on DVD or digitally to view on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Order yours today and start painting with a whole new sense of vigor and vitality.